I know we have a lot of listeners on Apple Podcast or Spotify, listening on the road, in the gym, wherever. But check us out on YouTube. You'll see some of the visuals here because we're about to reference some stats from our friends at Cerulli. They have some information about like what is high leverage activity. So I'm gonna defer to John. I know you've coached and worked with teams on this, but this effectively distills what are the prospect or new prospect sources. And when I say this, we're coming from the asset manager wholesaler position. This is you getting new advisors to work with you, use your products. We're not talking about advisors to their end clients. So in order, the top number is, what do you think? Obviously, we'll give the audience a second to tune in. If you're driving in your car, you're listening, 5 seconds. What's the number one source of new clients for wholesalers? Drum roll, please. That is obviously referrals, right? So referrals, introductions from center of influence, and proactive contacts on key accounts. John, let's talk through this. What's your impression when you look at this chart and you see this data from Cerulli?
Shout out to our friends at Cerulli. I know Andrew Blake's been a great friend of ours, and I think you do a lot of work with him as well. So
he'll be on the next podcast, yeah, or he might maybe released before this. We don't know, but Cerulli is a friend of the program. Yes,
I love it. We've had a great relationship with them for a long time, and we use a lot of their data points during our presentations to help really frame up some of these concepts. And this one in particular, one of the things we hear all the time, and it's been around for a long time, it's not a new concept, but look, wholesalers, if you've been doing it a while, hopefully you have some pretty good relationships with your existing, we call them ATLs or above the line advisors. Those are the people who are really moving that 80% of business. So at Sequioia, we call them an ATL, but some people might call them their platinum, their tier one, their whatever. So most wholesalers hopefully do at least a pretty good job of staying in front of those people. But let's be honest, a lot of the firm initiatives and a lot of the growth is going to come from, we got to go find new people. And that's a lot harder sometimes than just staying in front of your existing clients. So Cerulli, as part of their intermediary distribution report, surveyed, I think it was like 500 wholesalers and asked them, hey, what's your top source of prospects? And Dan, like you said, we always point this out. Number one and number two, it's referrals from existing advisors that they're already working with, and then introductions from centers of influence. So not a new idea, right? Referrals are like a tried and true way to shorten that path. But then you say, okay, well, do you have an actual process for how you actually do that? Or is it more of a reactive thing where, hey, I happen to get introduced to somebody by another wholesaler friend, or hey, I was at a group meeting and I bumped into somebody. So one quick idea that we share, and it's very simple. We call it the 3x2 referral process. 3 referral sources in your territory. You want to write those names down. So it could be one of your top tier clients, could be an advisor. It could be another wholesaler. So if you're selling mutual funds, but you have a relationship with the 401k or the annuity or the life wholesaler in your territory who is working with a lot of the same people, but totally different products, that is a great center of influence. It could be those branch managers, those like product specialists at Morgan Stanley or Merrill Lynch or some of the firms. So whoever they are, if you can identify 3 people who you have that relationship with, you feel comfortable proactively scheduling some time with. And the goal here is, can you get 2 specific introductions to advisors that are on your list of like, we know these folks fit the profile, they're good prospects for us, but we haven't been able to get through. Well, to me, the best way and the way to shorten that cycle to that first meeting, if I can find a way to get an introduction, again, whether whoever it comes from, that is such a big win. And look, again, the goal here is just to get the first meeting. Once you get that first meeting, now it's on you to take them through the sales process. But what we know is that most wholesalers out there are telling us the hardest part a lot of times is just getting that first meeting. So if we can tap into the power of a referral or an introduction proactively, man, it can make our lives so much easier in terms of getting some of those new producers on board.